In this video, we're going to go over the answers to the rock, paper, scissors project. So I'm going to skim through this a little bit rather than go through and build it all out. There's going to be a decent amount of starter code for you on the website, so definitely use that. But I'll explain to you what everything does. This project's a little bit more lengthy, so it'll definitely take you, or should have taken you, a little bit more time. So the first thing is just the project folder. So we're going to use the same similar setup as we had before. We're going to add in this images folder, and this is just going to have our images that we use to play the game. You can download these from anywhere you want. The one quirky thing that we haven't used before is we're going to leverage and introduce you a little bit to Bootstrap. So Bootstrap is basically a framework for styling web pages. It's open source, it's pretty easy to use, and it'll allow you to quickly format web pages as you're going. So in order to use Bootstrap, you just add in these links here. You can also download a Bootstrap file here and put it in your CSS file. So this is a CSS document. So if you Google Bootstrap, you can go ahead and figure out how to use some of these functions. We're not going to go through and explain everything, but you can figure it out if you're interested. The main point of this lesson is not to worry about formatting. This will introduce you to some of the concepts of Bootstrap. But if you want to learn more, there's definitely a large amount of material you learn on Bootstrap as well as other front-end web development frameworks. So to start off, we're just going to go through this index file here, this index.html file, and just walk you through what we did to build. So the first thing is we just wrapped everything in a container. This is just to format the overall page. Then we have this header, rock, paper, scissors, just as you see here. And then we're going to create this is some basic Bootstrap formatting. So these are all from Bootstrap. And this again just makes it a little easier to format quickly so that you don't have to write all the CSS code yourself. But we're putting this rock, paper, scissors in this CSS format. And these are all, again, Bootstrap classes. So as you can see here, this rock is a button, and we're using the button default from Bootstrap. Again, there's all sorts of documentation on this. I'm not going to go into it in detail right now, but this will just give you a sense for what Bootstrap looks like and how to use it. As we go down here, here's some more Bootstrap. This is just formatting our user score and ComScores. Come down here, same thing. User play, computer play, etc. So this is just creating a box here, and I'm going to show you in a second how we update these images. So Bootstrap does most of the heavy lifting in terms of formatting for us. We'll have a little bit of formatting to play with as well. So some of this is just tweaking little things here and there. This is just making sure that it doesn't look funky, making sure that the image that we do load doesn't repeat and it's centered within the page. This is the key piece to learn or remember is we're going to create classes. So we're going to create the rock class. We're going to have this background image, paper, scissors, and we're also going to have a background color if you win. So if you win, it's going to have this green background. If you lose or there's a tie, it's going to just remain white. So those are the four extra classes that we're creating that you need to remember. So then if we go into this index.js file, we're going to start to get to some of the meats and bones of this. All right. So we're going to mostly be on this index file, but I'll have this here just in case we need it. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create variables. So user score, ComScore, and ties. And this is what we're going to use to track who's winning. we're going to create a function called play game. That's going to take in the user input. So we scroll all the way down here. This is going to be the function that randomly generates what the computer plays. And we're going to have 3 on-click buttons. So each one is going to call a different function, or is going to call a play game function, but pass along a different variable. So if the person clicks rock, it's going to run the play game function and pass along the variable rock, or the argument value rock. Same thing with paper, same thing with scissors. So the user's going to click one of these, it's going to run play game and pass along that information. So that information is then going to be stored as the parameter user input. So let's say they pass along rock. The first thing this function is going to do is it's going to run the function get computer play, which will get the computer's randomly generated rock, paper, scissors, and store it in a variable comp selection. So now we have comp selection, we have user input. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to remove all the classes. We're just going to reset the board to make sure that it looks clean and that we can add classes back on later. And we're going to do the same thing for the computer selection. And then right after we do that, we're going to add in the class for the user input. So if the user inputs rock, it's going to pass along rock as a parameter. It's going to be stored as user input. First, you're going to reset the user's screen, and then you're going to add the rock class. Same thing with the computer class. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do a really, really long if then else sequence. So the first variation is if the user inputs rock and the computer inputs paper, then we're going to say, okay, paper beats rock, so the computer wins. So we're going to add the class winner to the computer, and we're going to increase their score by 1. Else, if that's not true, if the user enters rock and then the computer enters scissors, then the user score increases and they win. Else, if the user inputs paper and rock, then the user wins and gets an extra score. And we basically just keep on going through all these different iterations, and we just finally have this one catch-all, which is for ties. So if none of these situations happen, so like if it's rock, rock, for example, you don't see any rock, rock here. So I'll go through and this will create winners and losers. And I don't know, I have this here. So if user is paper and compass, so this can be deleted. But if no one wins, then it's a tie, and then it just increases the ties. And then what we do is we go through and we adjust this scoreboard. So every time the function runs, we adjust the scoreboard. So we just say the score, the HTML, and we basically rewrite this entire scoreboard. So it's going to be user score, and then the user score variable, comp score variable, and then ties and ties variable. So this program was a little bit longer than usual, but hopefully it wasn't too bad. And again, just to recap, we have these 3 buttons here that when clicked, these 3 buttons, when clicked, it runs the play game function and it passes along one of these variables, rock, paper, or scissors. It then comes up here, it gets a randomly generated computer play, which then gets passed along to this variable comp selection, and then it adds and scores the winner. So hopefully this wasn't too bad, and we'll see you in the next video.